Hi, it's Lynne with Soft Squares. Today is Monday, January 30th, 2022, and it is Maker's Monday, and we're going to work on a project. We're going to learn how to do cathedral window blocks and a lot of different variations of these. You won't want to miss it. It's really easy. I'm going to show you how to do it. I was going to put this together, but it hasn't happened yet, so you get to see it. Thank you for being here today. Let's play with some blocks. We're going to play with pre-cuts. So I have a 10-inch pre-cut stacker as well as a 5-inch. I also have some fabric that I have cut down to about 7.5 inches, just some white on white, just to give me a white and a different size if I should need it. Because some of these things I'm going to show you today, I added that extra size. Otherwise, I'm playing with pre-cuts, and I just want you to see what's going on. And there's so much you can do with these. First thing I'm going to do is tell you what I'm using for my fabric lines. I'm using this So Wonderful. It is by Moda, and that's where I'm getting my little charm packs out of the 5x5 pieces. I'll put a swatch of that here on the screen so you can see it, but they're all about sewing. The other fabric that I'm using for my layer cake, or my 10x10s, is called Words to Quilt By. And this is the sticker that was on the plastic wrapped around it. And then this is their swatch. Hopefully you can see that. So you can see they're both similar colors and they go really well together. They're also sewing themed. I'm also using some 5-inch pre-cuts. This one's through Riley Blake. You don't have to use pre-cuts at all, but it's nice to have a solid color, and I wanted a white. And then, as I'd mentioned before, I do have some yardage of some white, and I was cutting it down to 7.5 and then making different blocks using that on some of these examples. There is a video, I will link it to this one. It's about a square and a square pattern where we make this. It is super easy. Look at the back of that. Super easy. So I'm going to show you how to make this. Okay. And I have it in another color. So like I said, I'm making it in 2s. And all of these blocks are going to ultimately go in one quilt. All right. Now I have another technique. It's the exact same thing, except it's a square. And you're like, what's so special about that? Well, there was no cutting. You really didn't have to measure either. And the cool thing is, if you look real close at the corners, it looks like you did a lot of intricate piecing when you didn't. So got 2 of those. It's really easy. I'm going to show you how to do it. First thing we're going to do to make that block is start out with a charm square of our print and solid. Okay, so you start out with a 2 charm squares, 1 of each. You need a focal print and a white, or your solid. I would recommend something solid or not too busy. Then you're going to fold them, and you can barely see it, but I have made crosses. I finger pressed it through here as well as through here. What you want to do is you want to see the lines that are going on through there, because you're going to use those as markers. I did it on both of these, and actually I found it easier for me to actually press it. The finger pressing was a little too light for me, and it really doesn't hurt to have it pressed. So I went ahead and pressed those to get that same. Then from that, you're going to make a box. So you're going to fold everything in, following the lines of your what you pressed. Okay, so this has got 3 lines in already, or 3 corners. So let's put in this 4th one. And you only do it on the focal print. You do want to press this good. It sure makes life a lot easier if you have it pressed. Now you're going to take the solid, and you can still see, I know it's on white, it's hard, but I do have the pressed lines from before, and you want to line up your corners following those pressed lines, and then you're centered. Look how simple that is. Now I'm going to pin it. And then here's another one that I've already got ready. Same thing. Center it, pin it. Then you're going to go to the sewing machine with your pinned block. And I for me found that this was easier to pin on two sides because you do have the flaps that can come out until it's for sure secured. So anyway, there's 3 blocks that are ready to go to the machine. Then you go to the machine and you're going to actually sew across the top right on those lines that you had pressed. So that's why it doesn't matter, because you're not going to see them. They're going to be kind of invisible once you stitch into it. My preference or recommendation for this is when you do your pressing, press right side to right side. That way you end up with a valley. So when you do your stitching, you can actually get your stitch done in there. It's really hard to stitch on a peak. So that's one thing I would suggest. But as you can see, I've got all 4 corners secured. And there it is on the back. After that, we're going to start rolling our sides in and stitching them down. And you can do this all in one stitch, but you're gonna roll it down, start it in the corner, and you fold it down. Now there's only so far it's gonna let you fold. Obviously, because you've tacked it up here, the corners are gonna naturally go out. So you hold it down, you stitch along the very edge, you move it around, and then you get, so it looks like this. You get to your, so all that's left on this one is that 4th side. And like I said, I would normally do this all in one stitch going around. And when you're done, it looks like this. Now, I have a little ledge here. Okay, so some people may do a top stitch on the outer side. It's up to you what you want to do. For this, I'm going to leave it. And then here it is with a different color. And when you go to join them, we're going to pretend that these are finished blocks, but you can see that the center ones here are all done, and they form an illusion of a circle. Now I'm going to play with some other variations of this. All right, so I am going to show you how to make this block. There's a little more to it. We have the center block. However, I didn't do it on a 5x5. I actually cut a 7 1/4 inch square white, and then did the same thing where I pressed it, folded my ends in, pressed it. Okay, and then we're going to put the block in the center of that. And you should have your pressing lines now. This is actually, I'm using the 7-inch block on this one. This was 7 1/4, and I want to see the difference with these. I have been playing with different sizes. I also have it right here on a 7 1/2 inch square, and I'm going to do the same thing, but you can see the difference right away, that 1/2 inch, and then this is the size in between the two. So it just depends on what you want, but I'm going to play with both of these so we can see together. All right, so that's centered, put that in there. Now I'm going to go to my machine and I'm going to stitch this way from corner to corner. like I did there. And then while I'm there, I'm going to start rolling my sides down like this and go around to make my sculpted ends. Okay, I just went and made all of the ones I was showing as my little samples, made them into their window pane block, and these are the 5x5 squares, and most of them ended up being green. So I'm going to just put these over here, and we are going to join those together in a minute. But I want to go back to these two squares where I used the 7.5 inch block. So now we're going to take the piece that I have pressed, and I really want to play with this one because I like the color contrast, and put it back to where it was. And now I need to attach this to this. Okay. And then I also need a backing piece, which I think I'm going to go for this. I haven't pressed it, but it sure makes life easier when I do. Let me just tell you. Not as far as pressing, but as far as seeing where the lines are. And I just need a little bit of a line to work with. Okay, and this doesn't matter what direction it's facing. But these lines right here are going to help me center this block on it. Just make sure you get your little folds tucked in, and this is going to be covered up. You may even find it easier to somehow tack this with a pin or even just a stitch to keep all those in place until you really are done. Okay. Okay, there's that. Now I'm going to take this one again. This is a finished edge, not one of my 5x5 pieces. It has already been sculpted, and I'm going to take the lines from my points and line them up on the lines from what I pressed, and this should be as squared as it can be. You do want to press it or pin it, sorry. I am going to use a couple pins because I've got a lot of things just folded under right here. Now I'm going to stitch from here down to here on top of this. Does that make sense? So through all of the layers. Actually could take this off and just stitch through the bottom too. Let's not make it more complicated. Stitch it through just those. Okay, and then while I'm over there at my machine, we're going to pretend it's already stitched down. Okay, I want to roll this side up, but I have this. That's kind of a problem. So I'm going to fold it under. So whatever works for you, because you have a big enough piece here that you're going to have quite a bit of slack, as you can see by this. You just want to make sure it's underneath it and not in your fold, because that'll make it bulky. And that's the start of this. So I'm going to do that with all of these. There's nothing holding them down. Once this stitch goes on top, it will be held down. And yes, if you're thinking what I'm thinking, yes, we are making a bunch of bulk. And that's just kind of the way this block is. I could press this down, I guess. I'm not 100% sure if it's where I want it to be, but I do think it's low enough. It's going to be out of the way. So maybe I'll do that for a minute and we'll see if this is a good idea. Okay, so again, I'm going to the machine. I'm going to stitch corner to corner going across the top of this, and then start rolling these edges in and over. So they're gonna go on top of the white, but the bulk is up in here, but not to the fold. So if it makes it to the fold, it's just gonna make it really thick. Don't do that. Here's this block, and so my first block was this one. I want to play with a different style of block. Different, right? But I went around both sides of this, and that's what these look like. I'm still working on my points. But there's that back side. So I've got 2 of those. Now I want to show you some other things. I've done the block in a block video demo. I'm going to go over that again here. I'll link that to the end of this video. But you want to take a 10-inch charm and a 5-inch charm and lay it in the middle. The video I'm going to link shows doing it on a diagonal. I'm going to show you doing a square right now. So here's the finished product when it's on a diagonal, and here's the finished. Oh, where did it go? Where's my finished square? I don't have a finished square. We're making it. So this will be the square. What you do is you center your small piece, which needs to be 1/4 of the size of your big piece, whatever that is. Pre-cuts are great because this is 5 and this is 10. Anyway, you're going to fold this over, press it, and then you just use your 1/4-inch foot and go down those sides and then press it open. Okay, and then come back and do the same thing with this side and then press it open. Okay, let me go do that. Okay, so we have that. Now we are going to take the pin out, press it back, and this is what the back looks like. So press them out, okay? Take this, fold it right at that same place. You want to make sure that the stitch line keeps lining up with this and they're going straight. Press it, do the same on the other side, then do your 1/4-inch stitch down that side. Okay, now the only difference with doing it on the corner is you're going to lay it in the center. That seems pretty obvious, but I'm not explaining well. We're going to make another one of these. Let's do this. Okay, so this one I do want to press it before I do anything. And this is to make this 1/4 block. corner by corner block. Okay. Now this is much easier than even what I showed you in the other video, but still go look at that. You're going to take this, you're going to line up your points on those fold marks, and now you're centered. Pin it, and then do the same as you did with this one, which I'm about to take to the store to the machine. Fold it over, press it, fold the other one over, press it. The trick with this one is because this is so close where you're going to sew, just make sure you pull it back when you're sewing, just to ensure you don't stitch over it. You go sew both of these. Okay, and now this block is done. Look how simple that was. And what's cute is you actually have boxed corners, and it looks actually like it was very complicated and you're very precise in your piecing. It is really cool. So there's that. Now I'm going to come over here and take the pin out of this one, finish this one, press it back, fold it over right on the edge, and then again line up those lines so they're still following that. Okay, so this block is not done. This one is. This one needs to be trimmed down to get rid of the funny little points. So we'll do that. And you want to measure from here to here to see what your width is. And I have 8 1/4. Yep. Oh, we're pushing it at 8 1/2. And that's if we go on the outside of the pinked edges. I'm gonna do 8 1/4. So 8 1/4, half of that is 4 and a smidge. So we want to line this up, going down the center. Here's my 4. I'm not even using the board underneath. I lied. I'm going to. So these are some marks that I drew on my board to help me find the center of my board. It's like the concept of folding. So anyway, that helps me out a lot. So you want to make sure that this is actually running straight. And straighten it according to your center block, because that's this you can adjust, this you can't, and this you're going to see. Okay, so we're going to go out 4 1/4. All right, well, there you go. Now with this one, see, it actually ends up being a bigger block because you didn't have those things to cut off. It comes together a little faster actually. But this is actually a little bit of a challenging block, and what's cool is it has a pattern to it, but you can't see it quite as much, but the pattern does not get interrupted. Now in my other video, you'll see there's more of a definite pattern, and you can see how cool that works out. All right, so I've got these two. What's left is to trim this one up. I'll do that one later, but I want to play with these now. So here is the square and a square with my, yep, that little block. And what I did, I used these blocks, except I put a print behind it, but I used a charm pack. So that went in the middle, and then I did the same process I just did to build my block around it. So it's the same thing other than I used a print on the back. So there's that one, and then here we are with the corner one. Just need to square this one up. Ta-da! So now I have one of each. And then I have these. Also thinking I could take this and fold it back, so I could still do that to this one. Look how pretty that is. That's fun. So that is a double stained glass window. If this piece were bigger, I could keep going. And I'm just gonna keep making different blocks and see where I come up. And even putting these in there because they are all the same family. Endless possibilities. Okay, what do you think of that? It's kind of weird because you got the pink raw edges over here. I might as well have just put the white under the whole thing. I don't know. So we've got one of those. Cute though, because I went over these. I just made this block and I'm going to show you how I did it. Basically, you're going to take two 10-inch squares and make your cathedral block window by the process I showed already. And then I took a 7.5-inch square and a 5-inch square and folded them. Now, I don't usually do the white on white, but with this one, I was just trying to, I don't know, do something a little bit different. So this one right here is slightly, let's see, this is a little bit wider than that one, and there's white polka dots on that. So if you look close, you see a difference. Otherwise, it just kind of looks kind of cool. But I am going to, first I had to put this on before I could put this on. Some of the blocks you can build at the same time, but not with this one, because we are going to overlap it like this. And I needed to be able to do this part. So let's center it. And honestly, at this point, this one is kind of an eyeballing one. Okay, now I am going to go so corner to corner like this over top of what is underneath, which is why we had to start the way we did. And then before I do my scallop or this part, I'm going to go all the way across, but then I'm going to stitch back down to here and then scallop the inner side before I do the outside, because when you go to pull this one down, this is in the way until it gets pulled back. You'll see. All right, so this and this, we got to get you straight. This probably would have helped me if I had folded this corner-wise to get my true corner points, but I'm gonna eyeball this one. So you can start from the beginning of the corner and work your way down just so that the lines are consistent. On this one, I just started right on the corner and it actually looks fine. So I'm going to do that again with this one. Again, we're just going to go corner to corner. So something just happened I want to show you. I went off the edge of this a little bit and you can see that this is lifting. So I'm just gonna go back down to that spot, make sure it's covered. And since I'm more than halfway, I can choose to go back the way I came or I can keep going. I'm just gonna keep going because I have to skip back to any corner anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to do that second stitch around here. I'm bothering with that on this block because the other two will have the double stitch. So this has double stitch, this is going to have it. So why not? You can do whatever you want. This was really fun. At first I thought, okay, this seems like easy. And then I started thinking about it. It's like, no, this is a challenge. But no, they were fun. Again, no cutting. So there's 8 charm squares. So I've got the 4 on the outside and the 4 on the inside. That's it. The only thing I did is because they were charm squares, I actually had to join them. And I put this together 2 different ways. They still came out about the same, but the easiest way and the one that I think looks a little better was this way. And I'll tell you what the differences were. This one, I individually worked on each quadrant, each quarter, before I joined the 4 blocks. And this one, I joined the 4 blocks, which included having this part in the corner. And then I went around the outside. And I liked how this worked out. Now, there's a seam in here and there's some bulk. And so what I've done is I did a top stitch. Do you see that? Right where the seam is and the way the seam is laying. It's really hard to see, and because there's already a lot of top stitching on all the other blocks, I don't think it's even going to look out of place, but it's making that help to lay really flat. And the same goes for this one. So this is where you can see these points were just a little off, but this is really going to be in the seam allowance. When it's all said and done, you might not see it, but this was a little trickier to put together. Anyway, both ways. Making your blocks before you assemble them, or assembling and then doing the traditional going around. Okay. Oh, the biggest thing here is the triangle pieces on the square. I keep them and consider them one unit. So these 2 are always together. It's not like I made the background and then made the top. These 2 are actually one. here's just our regular, whoops, our regular 5-inch square and square. This is a 5-inch square with a 5-inch square, but this right here is a 7.5-inch square. Sorry, 6-inch square. And so it is bigger. And I use different fabric, but this is the white that you're going to see other places. So I'm thinking about doing this. Kind of make that fun and put together. I think I shall do that. Let's look at the blocks that I just made. Got a bunch of them and they're different. They're all in sets of 2. So there's maybe half as much as it looks like, but there's still a lot going on in here. Here are a bunch of the little ones made with 5x5s that are all pieced together. So you can do a whole bunch of these and they give the illusion of a curve and a circle when they're put together, but you get the gist of what's going on and the illusion that it makes. Here is a big one, 2 10x10 squares. This is the simplest out of all of them, and then there's the 5x5. Here it is in a different colorway. Again, this is all for the same quilt. I did not cut anything other than a little bit of white. Let's go back. Here's our 10-inch square over 10-inch square. Then I got creative and I thought, wouldn't that be cute to turn them on point? So after I made this block, I took another one, put it in the middle and did the same thing and curved it. So here's 2 different ones. And this one you can kind of see what's going on the back, kind of. It's just straight lines. Then I did even more to it. This is the 10-inch square, 10-inch square, 5-inch square. And then this right here, these are the white fabrics that I cut that were 7.5 inches. Because I want, there's 5, 7.5, and 10, which are the increments, the same increments. And I thought that was cute. I thought it was really cute. So I actually have just the folded edge right here and I didn't stitch over it. I didn't see any reason to. I guess you could. So here this is in 2 different ones. Oh, and a third. I made some little ones out of the 5x5s. I put them together like this. So this one where I have the bigger block is actually a 7.5-inch block on top of a 5-inch block with a 5-inch block on the inside. So this is bigger, and then this is just the 5 with the 5, and I did white. So these 2 and then these 2. And my goal is to put all this in one big project and make the blocks the same size, which means some of these will get borders or might be offset, or we'll see how it all comes together. But I wanted that increment, and that's just different. I only have one of those, but I have 4 or 2 of each block. Hard to see, but there's the white on white, and then here's this one. This might not even end up in there, and if I do, it might end up just as a wall hanging, and I do think putting buttons on these might be really cute. Give it some color and kind of perk it up. Otherwise, it's just real good. Is it just me, or do you think of an underwire bra when you see this? That's what I see. So there's that. Coming to the next one that I did, I have a 10x10 going this way, and then a 10x10 on point. That's what the yellow is. And then I curved it. And then I put a 7.5-inch white square. That's the only cutting I did, was to get that white in it, that size. 7.5-inch white square. Same technique, folding it in quarters. And then on top of that, I put a charm square, so 5 by 5 square. And instead of rolling the edges down, I just rolled and tacked them into this seam. So it looks like an octagon, kind of. And this one might be a little easier to see. It's kind of cute. It almost looks like it needs something though. Maybe a button. This whole thing's about sewing, so I know there's those two. And then I did this one, which is the same concept, except the middle is actually has the curved. So this one, the middle was put in going the direction of the larger block. And this one, all 3 blocks are on an angle. So this is 10-inch, 7.5, and 5. All the same technique. So you build from the outside, you work your way in. Otherwise, you're going to have that in the way of sculpting or yeah, doing that. So here's this one. Here's another one. And another one. So like everything I'm doing is 2, some have 3. Tried to at least have a pair. This one, 10-inch square, 10-inch square on point, 7.5-inch of the white, the polka dots, and then a 5-inch white. Now this white that came in my pack that I'm using is a whiter white than the one with polka dots, but the white dots on it are brighter. So I'm actually using this to tie everything together because both of these fabrics are used throughout the blocks. And I just thought that looked kind of cool. So here's another one. I tried to get some contrast with the blocks, but I don't think this one has as much contrast as I thought it would. This is a 10-inch block, 10-inch block. The white here is 5-inch, and that is a 5-inch. Now, if you look really close, you can see that the pinked edges on the corners, which are not real perfect, are there. So I have the raw edge of from my charm square. And I did that on purpose. So it actually fits in like this on top of that, but it doesn't fill the whole thing. And I knew it wouldn't fill it, but honestly, after I did it, and I did it on purpose, it kind of looks like it's an accident now. So I don't know that I like it as much. I think it would be cool to get a piece of fabric that goes all the way down into the point and is completely enclosed. It would probably, it'd have a little bit different look. And here it is in a different colorway. These are all different styles of Cathedral block windows. And I was able to combine that technique with that square and square, and none of these blocks had cut fabric other than the 7.5-inch white squares that I added when I needed or wanted something kind of as a mid-range. Okay, like this one. 10-inch, 7.5, and 5. And then the 10 is on the background. And so when it gets sewn in, you're going to lose your points. If you want to keep going, just make this the next size up. What would that be? 12.5, 15? Huh, you guys have to tell me, where's my head going with this? That sounds right, 12.5 and 15, then 15. And then 17.5 and 20 would be the increments as you keep going bigger. Now, I'm not cutting anything out of here, but it is pressed nice and flat, but these blocks do have a little bit of weight to them. The quilt, when I'm done, will have some weight to it, so I'm going to keep it small. And technically, I guess you can say there's a lot of waste, but when you look at that and all the stitching going on, you kind of need it. Let me know what you think about this. I'm going to keep playing with these. Actually, I don't know when I'm going to finish this. I'll pull it out and show you when I get farther along on it. But for now, this is all the farther I am, as I have run out of blocks. And now I just have to design my layout and finish it. I have quite a bit of this white on white polka dot fabric that I'm going to use to join my blocks, to square them up and do whatever's needed to make them all fit together. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment, and I will see you soon.